Hello and welcome to the show, sir. Sir, we would like to know about Goonj. I mean, a lot has been known about it, but if I have to ask you to explain what Goonj does in brief, how would you do that?
So I think the first agenda for us, or first motive, was to bring clothing in the list of subjects. That we understood that you talk about three basic needs. You say food, cloth, and shelter, and cloth has never been a development subject. It has largely been a disaster relief material or charitable subject object. So first agenda or first goal was to bring that, and it is still there. I mean, it's not that it is fulfilled, but yes, we're trying to do that. And the second most important part was that so far it has been a charitable subject object. So we wanted to move this entire thing out of charity, and we thought that why can't it be used as a resource? So, very big initiative of Goonj right now is called Cloth for Work, where people work, people get into infrastructure work, cleaning work, whole lot of right from cleaning lake to digging a well to cleaning Dal Lake recently.
How do you go about cleaning lakes?
No, this is all done by public ultimately. It's a whole lot of people just need a bit of motivation, nothing else. I mean, they have a huge amount of wisdom. They have local resources, and a lot of willingness to do something for their own community. It's just that someone maybe has to become catalyst in the entire process. So the motivation is one part. The material is the second part because people are rewarded in material. So I mean. This is not limited to cloth. A lot of people have this misconception that Goonj is in the business of collecting and distributing cloth. Unfortunately, we don't do that. Rather, we are using the not only cloth but whole lot of second-hand material, right from cloth, utensil, footwear to office material and everything, as a parallel currency, as a resource for development, as a reward. So we have been able to tackle the acute shortage of resources for so many different kind of initiatives. B, we have been able to literally dignify the act of giving. So it's no more charity. And that's the whole purpose of Goonj.
And how do you say it is no more charity? I mean, you give away, but you get something in return?
No, we don't get something in return. Rather, people work on their own issues. So when you make a road or when you clean a pond or dig a well, and then you are rewarded with the material, in a way you are actually earning. So okay, it's not coming to you as a donation or charity. I mean, tomorrow even if I go to you and say that this shirt you're wearing is mine, you can actually kick me out and say it might be yours, but I've earned it. So that sense of self-respect, which has been the biggest asset of especially village India, is intact. Okay, because this is what we say that you don't find beggars in the villages. Begging is a city phenomenon, and slums are not the extension of urban India. Slums are the extension of rural India because people like me and you never go to the slum. People from the villages are pushed out and stay in the slum. So, I mean, before they settle down there and before they got into a whole lot of messy stuff, they have been extremely dignified people. The biggest problem with so-called donation is that you give what you have, you don't give what people need. Or I don't call it a donation. I always tell people that listen, if you give 1,000 rupees to someone, call it a donation. If you give 10 kg of rice to someone, call it a donation. But if you give your old cloth or any other old material, don't call it donation. It is a discard. Okay, you're giving it because you don't want it anymore. So the word you can use to do that is I want to give. Never ever say that I want to donate and all. Rather, we need to be thankful to the people who are using our second-hand material because they're the people who give so much of respect and a new life to something where the life was over.
You won the Raman Magsaysay Award last year. How was your reaction when you heard about it?
Oh, I think it was very beautiful and big one for sure. And because you don't apply for it, you don't talk about it, and all of a sudden a call comes from Philippines and tells you that this is what it is, and it gives you a lot of happiness. And also for people like us, and especially personally me, I think in the last 16-17 years what we have been touching upon are the non-issues, which are not established. Whether you talk about clothing or you talk about sanitary pads or menstrual hygiene, or wisdom or using wisdom of people and making them partner, these have been largely non-issues in the development, corporate sector or the government sector. So it's a big reaffirmation to a lot of things. So that's why I think it makes you happy. For sure. Somewhere, when you think deeply about it, so you do feel sad about it because as a nation, as a country, you feel that okay, it's been like almost like 6-7 decades, and you are being recognized for changing the culture of giving, which is good. But in the middle of that changing of culture of giving is the basic issue of clothing, okay, which has been a basic need, a basic right of humankind, roti kapda makan. So yeah, somewhere you feel that I think we really need to do a lot, and such small issues have become so large, in the process, because maybe the larger world has just ignored it. When people call us development organization, that's what I always argue. I say, listen, you should not call us development organization. You know why? Because development happens between 0 and 10. Okay, what I call 0 is 2 pair of basic clothing, some dal chawal, and primary education. Now we are sitting in minus. I mean, whole lot of us who are trying to work in this particular space, we are actually trying to deal with the minus people and trying to bring them to 0. So minus to 0, to be honest, in my opinion, is actually not development, is survival. So is it not sad that whole lot of us are still trying to make sure that people survive?
How do you ensure that the rural citizens work for themselves?
No, because it is their need at the end of the day, and it is an absolutely unfulfilled need. And what is happening right now, that ultimately the people who are so-called benefited, the last beneficiary of the part, is not a part of the decision making. So you actually sit, people like us sitting here, or the governments, or the social organizations, or the corporates, we all decide that this is what is needed in the village, because we see it with our eyes, we don't see it with their lenses. Okay, and maybe that is the reason that a whole lot of decisions really go wrong, and whole lot of unwanted things happen at the cost of people's money. This has been the biggest flaw in the entire operation of whether it is government scheme or CSR or NGO work in India, because the people for whom we all are trying to work, they are not the part of the decision. They are not a stakeholder. The moment you do the top-down approach, you will always miss out these things. So the Cloth for Work, or whatever Gunj is trying to do, is basically making every single person a stakeholder.
I'm sure our viewers would love to know the types of uses that you make cloth work for.
No, I think they should rather go on the Gunj Facebook, which is updated regularly, and we put in a whole lot of things, like how we've been able to clean it's about 1 lakh square meter of Dal Lake recently with the power of cloth, how the mangroves are growing in Sundarbans, how a wedding kit is being prepared with the help of clothing, and we support a large number of weddings all across the country. You have this Mata ki chunni and all that. So, and which ultimately you keep it in the temple, and then you throw it in the dustbin, not in the dustbin, rather you actually in the river. Okay, so what we have started doing, and ultimately it pollutes river, I mean without any bad intention, but that's what happens. So we actually collect all that, and we ask people to give it away and give it to us, and then convert that into a very beautiful ghagra with the gotas and very bright colors, and people do feel happy when they get married in that, because there is a lot of religious sentiment also. You will not find even a single inch of material, especially the cloth, I mean all other material is different, going waste at all, because even the last chindi, the last inch of cloth will make a school mat for the school kids. Okay, and if it is like 6 inches, 1 feet kind of stuff, it will be stuffed in a mattress kind of thing, which we create something called Sujani, and which is one of the very big and largest income generation activity of Gunj in the remote villages. So, the moment you start treating anything as currency, okay, as a development resource, you can actually do any kind of work. I mean, why do we limit it to Dal Lake only that way? I mean, to be honest, few years back, we didn't even imagine that the old material, cloth, utensil, footwear have that kind of power that one day we will be able to clean up the Dal Lake.
Why did you think of clothing, going in that field, which I absolutely believe is quite ignored?
Because the very simple thing is that in a country like India, in many other countries, more deaths happen due to lack of clothing than earthquake or floods. B, when you talk about three basic needs, you say roti, kapda, makan, food, cloth, and shelter. When you talk about development work, right from Millennium Development Goal to Sustainability Goal to CSR money for funding agencies, planning commission, you will have some 150 issues from domestic violence to global warming. You will never find clothing as as an issue, and it's really sad, and it's also very surprising because something which is so important for me and you. Okay, we are sitting here because we are wearing clothes. It's very simple, plain. Okay, how come we ignore that not only in India but globally for millions and millions of people? I mean, you will actually go with 2 drops of anti-polio drop and put it in the mouth of a naked kid. You will feed him or her the navratras, those chana and puri maybe 8th time, but you will never ever ask that why this kid is not wearing a cloth. I mean, it's just very surprising that we have really accepted that nakedness as just a status quo. We are not objecting on that. And this in the same world where if even if you have a small hole in my son's or daughter's trouser or skirt, you will not let them go to the school. It's so important for all of us.
You also try to touch upon topics like menstruation, which has been a taboo as such. So, what is that you do, and how is that you try to overcome this taboo?
So, to be honest, I mean, we were the first people to open up the subject because it has been such a huge taboo that, I mean, even if you buy the best quality ultra thin sanitary pad from the market, it is always wrapped in a black polythene or a newspaper. So, there is a culture of shame and silence. And, I mean, the largest population in the country, if you talk about the female population, do not have access to anything to do with the sanitary pad. I'm not talking about proper sanitary pad. And women ultimately, or the girls, end up using sand, ash, jute gunny bags, rakh, red, mitti, plastic sheet, newspaper to cow dung. Okay, and these are like huge population. Then we have cases where like a lady used a piece of blouse which had a hook, she died of tetanus. And I'm not here to narrate all those things, but it's very gruesome. It's very gruesome, and it's highly ignored, non-issue. The way we spoke about clothing, and it is the extension of the clothing issue because largely the country used to use cloth as a piece of, for the sanitary product, and because you do not have access even to the basic clothing, or you need cotton cloth and you have access to nylon or whatever other kind of material, synthetic material, so it's of no use. It is a largely the dignity issue apart from the health issue. And women really go through a very miserable thing. So you need thousands and thousands of initiatives to come up, without any fancy thing, because the hardcore basic issue of the larger population of this country. We do it with the piece of cloth. It is called My Pad. We don't even call it sanitary pad and all. We have started calling it a better piece of cloth because that's what we are doing. Is 100% environment friendly because it is cotton, semi-cotton. It is reusable. It changes the practices of the village. It opens up the issue. So it's not a product; it's a tool. We have done about 7 million, 60, 70 lakh napkins we have produced so far, and very effective wherever it goes, and we've been able to really open up the issue. I think that was most important for us, but a lot to do.
This is all from the used clothes that you get?
Absolutely. The entire second-hand cloth which we get, so we take out the cotton, semi-cotton out of it.
How do you go about the processing? So you have a proper processing outlets?
Our processing centers are very scientific that way. The entire cotton material is converted into that. There is processing in that, huge amount of processing. We do take care of all kind of health and hygiene issues and cleanliness of that. And maybe that's the reason that 60-70 lakh napkins have gone to the remotest parts, and touch wood, no complaint of anything.
What do you have to say about CSR as a mandate? Are you in favor of the mandate, or how much has it changed the social spectrum of the country?
I don't know whether the social spectrum has changed so far because the impact is still to be seen. Okay, if we keep working near Gurgaon and Gachibowli, nothing is going to change. So let's not do the misinterpretation of the clause which says that it should be vicinity and all that. It is not mandatory, and this is something how we are reading it.
So corporate should come out of their vicinity and really start working in the extended area.
Not only the geographical vicinity, but also the ideas which whole lot of people think will make a difference, because there are other things which are needed. So it's important to work more with the grassroots in the much bigger geography, and work.
If I have to ask you what is CSR to you, or how do you look at CSR, what would it be like?
Listen, CSR is good, but ultimately, I think what is lacking in this country, as we call it, ISR, individual social responsibility. So, and in many cases, many businesses, not all, many businesses, to be honest, if they would have done larger part ethically, the 2% was not needed. It's very simple. So I think it's high time that as a nation we understand that our priorities are different, and let's not force the governments or many other entities to put certain clauses. Then only you do the social good.
Thank you so much for talking to us. It was really insightful. Thank you for joining the CSR Journal.